Have you ever noticed how quickly people disappear the moment you're no longer useful to them? It's a quiet betrayal, subtle but piercing. One minute you're celebrated, the next you're forgotten. And here's the hard truth: you don't truly know someone until you have nothing left to offer them. Let me share something about human nature, something most people only learn when it's far too late. You see, real character doesn't show itself when everything's going well. No, anyone can smile at you when they need something. Anyone can act supportive when you're winning. But take away the spotlight, turn off the applause, and suddenly, everything changes. The phone stops ringing. The messages stop coming. The laughter fades. And just like that, the room gets quiet. That's when masks fall off. Because when you're no longer useful, when you're not the one handing out opportunities, helping with connections, offering support, that's when you see people for who they really are. Not when you're on top, not when you're shining, but when you're down, when you're in a dry season walking through the shadows feeling invisible. That's when truth enters the room. You see, we live in a world where relationships have become transactional. So many people are more in love with your benefits than your being. They admire what you do, not who you are. As long as you're fueling their dreams, helping them climb, or fitting into their plan, they'll stay. They'll cheer. They'll show up. But the moment your role shifts, the moment you can't give them what they want, they're gone. Suddenly you go from family to forgotten, from ride or die to who's this again. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's because your value to them expired. Think about it. How many people in your life have only been around during your summer? When everything's blooming, when opportunities are flowing, when you're the one lifting others up. Now think about how many stayed when the seasons changed. Because the truth is, some people never loved you, they loved what you did for them. And when that stopped, so did their affection. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's not friendship. That's usage disguised as care. But here's the part that hurts most. You probably believed them. You believed their words, their smiles, their promises. You gave your time, your energy, your trust. You opened your heart. And for what? For them to walk away the moment you had nothing left to give. It's painful. It's disorienting. But it's also revealing. Because God, the universe, however you want to frame it, will allow some people to exit your life just to show you what they were really standing for. It's not punishment, it's protection. God isn't breaking your heart, He's freeing it. He's pulling away what was never real in the first place. And He's making space for what's meant to last. So when the support fades, when the room empties, when the celebration ends, pay attention. Because that silence, it speaks louder than applause ever could. The absence of certain people will reveal far more than their presence ever did. And the way someone leaves your life will teach you more than how they entered it. Let that sink in. If someone only loved you when you were useful, then they never really loved you at all. They loved the version of you that benefited them. And if they could walk away easily, they were never walking with you deeply. Their loyalty was shallow, their intentions temporary. They weren't built to carry your destiny, only your platform. And here's what I want you to understand. Don't chase them. Don't beg them to stay. Don't lower your standards to keep someone who was never meant to be permanent. You can't force temporary people into permanent places in your life. You can't keep adjusting your worth just to stay relevant in someone else's story. When God removes someone, it's not rejection. It's redirection. He saw what you couldn't. He heard what they said behind your back. He felt the intentions they never voiced. And out of love, He protected you, even if it felt like betrayal, even if it came through tears, even if it left you alone. I've seen people change faster than the seasons. One day, they're for you. The next day, they act like you never existed. They treat loyalty like fashion, something to wear when it's convenient, and discard when it no longer fits. And you know what? That's okay. Because true loyalty doesn't fade when the benefits run dry. It doesn't disappear when things get quiet. It stays when the stage is gone, when the light is off, when all that's left is you. So don't let their departure define you. Let it refine you. Let it teach you to value presence over performance, soul over status, connection over convenience. You're not hard to love. You're just not easy to use. And that's why some people left. But the ones who stay, the ones who still show up when you have nothing left to give, they're rare. They're real. They're the ones worth keeping. So the next time someone walks away, don't panic. Don't spiral. Don't chase. Just pause, breathe, and whisper to yourself, that wasn't rejection. That was release. Let me tell you something I've come to understand, and maybe you have too. Real love, real loyalty, is not proven when you're surrounded by applause or attention. It's not revealed when you're needed, praised, or celebrated. No, the real test comes in your absence. When you're no longer visible, when your voice grows quiet, when your hands are empty, that's when truth steps into the room. So ask yourself this: who checks on you when you go silent? Who reaches out not because they need something, but because they see you? Who still believes in you when you have nothing left to give? Those are the people you hold close. Those are the ones you trust, not the ones who only gather around when life is lit up and the blessings are flowing. Because not everyone clapping for you is cheering for you, and not everyone standing beside you is standing for you. Some people are just close enough to catch the blessing, not to carry the burden. They don't love you for your scars. They love you for your spotlight. But the moment that spotlight dims, the moment your season shifts, their loyalty evaporates. And this is where discernment becomes your greatest asset. You need people in your life who won't just celebrate your mountaintop moments, but will sit with you in the valley. People who won't just wave when everything's good, but who will stay when it gets messy, uncertain, quiet. You need those rare souls who love you when there's no benefit in loving you, who show up when the miracles stop and all that's left is faith. That's not just friendship, that's covenant. That's character. That's what God honors. So if you find yourself right now in a season where people are walking away, take a breath. Don't panic. Don't question your value. And above all, don't chase. Because sometimes the light of your purpose will expose the shadows in others. The brighter you shine, the more obvious it becomes. Some were only attracted to the glow, not committed to the journey. And if you're standing there feeling alone, let me gently remind you of something beautiful. You're not alone. Because God walks with the pure in heart. He walks with those who choose integrity over influence, even when no one sees it. He stands beside those who stay faithful when the crowd disappears. And here's the truth. When people walk away, God walks in. When others let go, He holds tighter. So no, you're not abandoned. You're being aligned. And that's why it's okay to let people go. Don't cling. Don't beg. Let them exit with grace. Because if someone's love for you was built on how useful you are, then their absence is not a loss. It's a blessing. Let me say that again. If their love was based on your function, not your humanity, then losing them is God's way of clearing your path. So He can fill it with people who see your worth, not your output. You can tell a lot about someone by how they respond when you finally draw a boundary. When you stop overextending. When you stop saying yes just to keep the peace. When you stop shrinking yourself just to make others feel comfortable. That's when the real temperature of the relationship is revealed. Not when everything's flowing smoothly, but when you say, "That's enough." That's when you see whether their presence in your life was rooted in love or control. Because boundaries don't scare good people away. They don't threaten real friends. They don't confuse those who truly care. Boundaries only irritate the ones who were there for convenience, not connection. And the moment you start speaking up for yourself, the moment you begin honoring your time, your space, your mental and emotional well-being, you'll notice a shift. Some people will fall back. Some will distance themselves. Some may even call you selfish or changed. But you haven't become selfish. You've become self-aware. You've stopped allowing your life to be drained by those who only show up when it benefits them. You've stopped sacrificing your peace for temporary companionship. You've stopped trading your voice for their validation. And that's what growth looks like. Uncomfortable. Yes, necessary, absolutely. Because sometimes we're so afraid of being alone that we tolerate people who are draining us, confusing us, disrespecting us just to avoid the silence. But silence can be sacred. Stillness can be healing. Solitude can be where you finally hear what your soul's been trying to tell you. That it's okay to walk away from what no longer serves your purpose. It's okay to release what no longer reflects your worth. It's okay to choose peace over proximity. So if you're in that place right now, if people are pulling away because you're standing up for yourself, let them fall back. Because the ones who were meant to go the distance with you won't be offended by your boundaries. They'll respect them. They'll rise to meet them. They'll match your growth with their own. And as you walk this road, maybe quieter, maybe lonelier, remember this: you're not being punished. You're being positioned for deeper peace, for truer connections, for a life aligned with who you really are, not who others expect you to be. So don't let the exit of temporary people distract you from the entrance of lasting purpose. Let go, with grace, with peace, and with your head held high. Some people will start to pull away. Some will look at you with confusion, even accuse you of changing. But the truth is, they were only ever comfortable when you were quiet, when you were agreeable, when you didn't speak up. And the moment you finally drew a line, they felt threatened. That's the thing about boundaries. They don't just show others what you will and won't tolerate. They reveal what others secretly expected from you all along. The moment you say, "I won't allow this anymore," you're not just protecting your peace. You're exposing their assumptions, their entitlement, their need to control. The ones who truly love you. They may not understand your growth right away, but they'll adjust. They'll listen. They'll give you space and still offer love. They'll respect your no without needing a full explanation. But the ones who were simply benefiting from your silence, they'll panic. They'll push back. They'll say things like, "You've changed," as if staying stuck in the same unhealthy cycle forever was something noble. They'll call you selfish when really you're just becoming wise. They'll label your strength as attitude, your clarity as disrespect, and your discernment as rebellion. Why? Because your boundaries confront their expectations. Your confidence shines a light on their control, and that makes them uncomfortable. But hear me. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. It's love. First, love for yourself. Then love for others. You're not hurting them. You're simply honoring you. You're teaching people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And if someone chooses to walk away because you stopped letting them walk all over you, let them go. Don't chase. Don't beg. Don't grieve what God has already revealed was never built on truth. He didn't give you a voice so you could stay silent in the face of manipulation. He gave it to you so you could speak, stand, and grow. I've seen it again and again. Someone finally finds the courage to speak up, to draw that bold line, to walk away from toxic patterns. And suddenly, the people they thought would always have their back, gone. Cold, distant. And yes, it hurts. It hurts because you believed those relationships were rooted in care. But now you see they were rooted in compliance. Your silence was the glue. The moment you broke it, everything else broke too. And in that pain, a lesson rises to the surface. Love without respect isn't love, it's possession. Peace doesn't come from saying yes to everyone. It comes from learning how to say no. With clarity, with confidence, and with grace. And most importantly, anyone who is threatened by your healing was never truly committed to your wholeness. Because boundaries test the depth of a person's love. You say, "I need time." They either support you or guilt trip you. You say, "I can't keep doing this." They either listen with compassion or lash out with blame. Their reaction isn't random, it's revelation. It's truth pulling back the curtain and saying, "Look closely. This is who they really are." When you stop being easy to use. So don't second-guess yourself. Don't let their discomfort drag you back into the person you've outgrown. Don't confuse their disappointment with disobedience to your calling. You weren't created to keep everyone happy. You were created to walk in truth. And sometimes walking in truth means walking away, especially from those who can't handle the healthiest version of you. God will never ask you to betray your identity to save a relationship. He will never ask you to shrink yourself just to be loved. He's calling you into wholeness, into clarity, into sacred life-giving spaces where love isn't manipulative, it's mutual. And when He tells you it's time to draw a line, draw it boldly. Don't be afraid of who leaves. Be grateful for who stays. Because that remnant, that faithful, quiet few who choose to love you at your healthiest, not your most convenient, they are your people. And they are enough. The ones who stay, they're the ones who love the real you, not just the easy version of you. The one who's sometimes tired, sometimes unsure, sometimes needing space. They don't just love your light, they stay close, even when your glow fades. And I want you to hear this. It's okay to outgrow what once felt like home. It's okay to evolve beyond the version of yourself that once made others comfortable. That's not betrayal. That's transformation. Growth will always cost you something. Sometimes it costs people. But it will never cost you your peace. And peace is the one thing you never want to trade for acceptance. Because when God leads you into a new season, He doesn't bring the clutter with Him. He clears the space first. He makes room. He removes who and what no longer belongs, not to hurt you, but to prepare you. So don't fear the empty seats. Don't grieve the silence that follows truth. Don't mourn the ones who left when you started standing taller. Sometimes subtraction is just addition in disguise. And if you're in that exact moment right now, wrestling with the emotional fallout of finally choosing yourself, of setting boundaries, of telling your truth, let me remind you of something powerful. Your worth has nothing to do with how much you endure. It's not about how many pieces of yourself you give away just to keep others happy. Your worth is rooted in how much you honor your own spirit, your truth, your calling, your peace. Let people think what they want. Let them tell their version of the story. Let them misread your silence or mislabel your growth. Because your job isn't to keep everyone comfortable. Your job is to walk in your calling. And let's be honest, it's easy to look strong for a day. It's easy to act powerful when the lights are on, and the applause is loud. Anyone can be intense in a moment. But true character, that's measured in your consistency, not in your highs, but in your habits. Because consistency is where real commitment quietly proves itself. You don't measure loyalty by who shows up at your party. You measure it by who stays when the room empties. I've seen people enter lives like fireworks, loud, bright, promising the world. They're all in for a week. They show up when it's fun, when there's something to gain, when the vibe is right. They post you, praise you, promote you. But the moment the shine dims, the moment your life isn't convenient for them, the moment your needs become more than they're willing to carry, they fade, they disappear. and you're left staring at the silence wondering if it was ever real. But the answer doesn't lie in how they started. The truth is always in how long they stayed. Because starting strong is easy. Staying steady is sacred. Consistency doesn't show off. It doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't ask for applause. It just shows up again and again and again. It's the quiet friend who checks in weeks after everyone else has moved on. It's the one who hears what you don't say. The one who doesn't need attention to be loyal. Who doesn't need a stage to be faithful. That kind of presence. That kind of love. It doesn't fade with the seasons. It isn't shaken by mood swings or schedule changes. It's rooted, solid, rare. And let me say this clearly. Emotional highs are not the same as spiritual depth. We've confused passion with purpose. We think someone's loud love at the start must mean deep commitment in the end. That kind of quiet consistency. It speaks louder than any grand declaration ever could. God isn't impressed by spiritual fireworks that last a week. He doesn't measure faith by moments of intensity. He looks for hearts that burn steadily. He honors those who keep showing up in prayer, in service, in truth, and in love, not just when it's popular, but when it's hard. You see, the people who truly carry weight in the kingdom, they're not always the loudest in the room. They're not always the ones in the spotlight. They're the ones anchored by conviction, not blown around by circumstances. That's real character. It doesn't always look impressive. It doesn't always feel exciting, but it holds everything together when everything else starts to fall apart. It's the mother who keeps praying even when her children push her away. It's the husband who chooses faithfulness when the marriage feels dry and disconnected. It's the friend who keeps checking in even when their messages go unanswered. It's the mentor who continues to pour wisdom even when no one stops to say thank you. That's what consistency looks like. Not glamorous, not dramatic, but powerful in ways the world often overlooks. And maybe right now you're carrying a few disappointments. You've been let down by people who started strong but finished nowhere. You've been hurt by promises made in passion but forgotten in pressure. You've watched people disappear when you needed them the most. And maybe you started to question your own worth because of their inconsistency. But hear me and hear me clearly. Their inconsistency does not define your value. It only reveals their truth, their level of maturity, their level of commitment, their capacity or lack of it. So don't take it personally. Take it purposefully. Let it teach you. Let it show you where not to place your trust. Let it guide you to people who don't just say they're for you, but prove it quietly over time. Because the people worth building with are not the ones who impress you for a moment. They're the ones who invest in you for a lifetime. They don't need an audience. They don't need a reward. They're there because they love you, not the version of you that benefits them, but the real growing, evolving you. So be wise. Watch the patterns. Honor those who stay, not just those who start. And as you look around your life, ask yourself, who's still here even when it's not exciting? Who loves you when it's quiet? Who supports you when there's nothing in it for them? Because that's where the gold is. That's where the foundation is. And once you've learned to value those who stay, those who show up consistently, you begin to see clearly why God allows others to drift away. Because sometimes God will allow inconsistent people to walk in and out of your life not to confuse you, but to teach you, to show you through contrast what real consistency looks like. He'll allow the flaky ones, the fair-weather friends, the easily distracted to pass through your world, so that when something genuine comes along, something solid, you'll recognize it. And not just recognize it, you'll appreciate it. You'll protect it. Because once you've tasted inconsistency, the kind that promises much but delivers little, you won't settle again for presence without perseverance. And maybe right now, you're not just thinking about others. Maybe you're thinking about yourself. Maybe you've realized you've been the one who started strong, but didn't follow through. Maybe your loyalty has been tied more to how you feel than what you're committed to. And if that's you, it's okay. This is your moment to shift. God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for direction. He's not waiting for you to have it all figured out. He's inviting you to begin again, to be the kind of person who finishes what they start, to stand firm when the winds blow, to choose integrity over intensity, to show up not once but repeatedly. Because real impact isn't created by a single passionate moment. It's created through quiet strength, through the discipline of doing the right thing over and over again. In the end, anyone can be great for a moment. But who you are day in, day out, that tells the truth about your character. And here's something else to remember. Some people will treat your kindness like weakness. They'll mistake your gentleness for naivety. They'll assume your patience is permission. And if you're not careful, if you keep letting it slide, they'll keep taking. They'll drain you dry. They'll wear you down until all that's left is exhaustion and confusion. That's why one of the greatest tests of someone's character isn't how they treat you when you're strong, it's how they treat you when you're kind. There's something strange about the quiet-hearted, those who listen more than they speak, who give second chances, who extend grace without shouting about it. People misread that. They assume you don't notice. They think you're unaware. They believe they've got the upper hand because you haven't called them out. But what they fail to realize is this. Silence is not always ignorance. Sometimes it's wisdom. Sometimes it's restraint. Sometimes it's a soul choosing peace over drama. Sometimes it's strength wrapped in stillness. The way someone handles your kindness says everything about them, not about you, them. It shows whether they're trustworthy even when no one's watching. It reveals whether they see your grace as a gift or a loophole. It makes clear whether they honor the blessing of your presence or take it for granted. Because a person with true character, they won't exploit your patience, they'll protect it. They won't drain your energy, they'll match it. They won't take advantage of your love, they'll honor it. But the ones who lack character, they'll use your kindness like currency as a pass to do what they please without consequence. They'll rely on your forgiveness like it's a routine, not a healing. And they'll keep pushing boundaries, testing limits until your soul is worn out and your peace has been bled dry. So I want to say this clearly, especially to the kind-hearted. Just because you're kind doesn't mean you owe anyone unlimited access. Just because you forgive doesn't mean you're required to stay in harm's way. Some of the most dangerous people in your life aren't the ones who hurt you once and left. They're the ones who hurt you slowly, bit by bit, while hiding behind your compassion. They're the ones who count on your kindness to cover their carelessness. And maybe that's the moment you're in right now, standing at the edge between grace and self-protection. So how do you know when it's time to let go? When does forgiveness meet wisdom? You see, some people don't change. Not because they can't, but because they never have to. They know you'll give them another chance, and another, and then another. So why should they grow when your kindness has already become their shelter? Not their mirror, not their motivation, just their safety net. Your heart gave them refuge, but they never used that refuge for transformation. They stayed the same because your grace made it easy to never evolve. But hear this, there's nothing wrong with being kind. There's nothing weak about being soft-hearted in a world that often feels so harsh. Don't let the carelessness of others convince you to build walls around your warmth. The answer is not to stop loving. The answer is to become wise about where you plant that love. Be kind, but be clear. Be generous, but stay grounded. Love deeply, but never abandon yourself in the process. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop allowing people to use your compassion as a cover for their dysfunction. God didn't give you a gentle spirit so you could be a doormat. He gave it to you so you could reflect His heart. And even He, in His infinite love, sets boundaries. Even God says, that's enough. Even God withdraws when grace is continually rejected. Even He honors truth alongside love. So, when you're dealing with someone who repeatedly misuses your goodness, don't let guilt chain you to their chaos. Don't let the fear of being seen as mean too much or changed keep you from doing what your soul knows is right. Because here's the truth. Being kind doesn't mean being blind. Being forgiving doesn't mean staying in harm's way. Real love includes truth, and truth sometimes means walking away. If someone can keep disrespecting you and still feel safe in your presence, then somewhere along the way, your silence became their permission. Let me say it clearly. You are not weak because you're kind. You are strong, but real strength. Real strength knows when to step back. Real strength can say, I love you, but I won't let you hurt me. Being Christ-like doesn't mean being crushed. It means being wise. It means being anchored in truth. It means recognizing when someone's proximity is too costly to your peace. Not everyone deserves front-row access to your heart. Some people need to love you from a distance, not out of spite, but because they've shown they can't handle intimacy with respect. And let me prepare you when you finally pull back, when you finally set those healthy, holy limits. The same people who used your kindness for convenience will say, you've changed. Let them say it. Let them talk. Because what they're really saying is, you stopped letting me use you. And that is not your burden to carry. That's their reflection, not your reality. You weren't created to be consumed by people who only know how to take. You were made to reflect the love of God with both boldness and balance. That means you give from a place of clarity, not chaos. You serve with a full heart, not an empty one. You help not because you're guilted into it, but because you choose to with discernment. And if someone ever asks you, why did you stop giving so much? You can look them in the eye and say, because I finally realized what you were doing with what I gave. Because you can tell a lot about someone by how they handle power. Not just the kind of power that comes with a title or influence, but the quiet, sacred power we all hold at times. The power to help or to hurt, to heal or to humiliate, to cover or to expose. Sure, character is tested under pressure, but you know what else character is revealed when you're in control. When someone's at your mercy, when you hold the advantage, when no one would blame you for lashing out or walking away. That's when the truth comes out. That's when who you really are is no longer what you say, but what you choose. Because it's easy to talk about mercy when you're the one who needs it. It's easy to preach grace when you're the one on the ground. But here's where life's true test comes when others stumble and you're the one standing. What do you do then? Do you reach out your hand to help? Or do you wag your finger in judgment? Do you use their moment of weakness as a chance to lift them up, or as an opportunity to label them and push them down? I've watched people who were gentle, kind, even humble, until life handed them a taste of power. A little success, a bit of praise, maybe a position of authority. And suddenly they forgot the days they were desperate for grace themselves. They forgot the nights they cried alone, begging for a breakthrough. They forgot the helping hands that pulled them from the pit. And instead of becoming builders with their newfound strength, they became belittlers. They started using their power to puff themselves up by putting others down. But that's not real strength. That's pride hiding behind a confident smile. Arrogance dressed up as success. Real strength doesn't boast. It quietly shows up when it matters most. It's the quiet anchor in a storm, the steady hand when others shake. People with the deepest character never forget what it felt like to be on the floor, overlooked, and underestimated. They remember the sting of rejection, the ache of invisibility. And because of that, they don't mock others who are struggling. They don't roll their eyes when someone fails. They know what it's like to need a second chance, a little mercy, a kind word in a dark time. They've learned the vital truth: just because you have the power to crush someone doesn't mean you have the right. If you want to uncover someone's true nature, don't watch them when they're weak. Watch them when they're strong. Watch what they do when they have every reason, every opportunity, every ounce of power to retaliate. Do they strike back with venom? Do they spread rumors, expose secrets, or shame their enemies? Or do they choose the higher road even when it's painful? I'm not saying you should let people abuse you. Boundaries are sacred and must be protected. But there's a world of difference between setting healthy limits and punishing someone just because you can. Remember the story of David and Saul. David had every reason to destroy Saul, who was obsessed with hunting him down. And yet, when David found Saul alone and vulnerable in a cave, he chose not to harm him. Why? Because David's heart was anchored in something bigger than revenge or ego. He understood a powerful lesson. Just because you have the opportunity doesn't mean you have permission. That's what real restraint looks like. That's the mark of true maturity. That's what builds a legacy of character. Some of the greatest moments in your life won't be defined by the clever words you spoke, but by the powerful words you chose not to say. By the clapbacks you swallowed. By the secrets you kept to protect others, even those who hurt you. By the doors you gently closed instead of slamming them in rage. These quiet decisions are the moments heaven notices. That's when God leans in and says, "Now I can trust you with more." And hear me, just because they wronged you doesn't mean you have to mirror their actions. Don't let bitterness hold the pen that writes your story. Don't let someone else's darkness shape your response. Because the person who lied about you already showed who they are, now let your response show who you are. You're not responsible for their choices, but you are fully responsible for yours. If they broadcast your mistakes, you don't have to expose theirs. If they humiliate you, you don't have to humiliate them. When you're given the chance to get even, pause and ask, will this decision reveal my healing, or will it reveal my hurt? Sometimes the greatest revenge is living with peace that no one can steal. Sometimes the strongest response is dignified silence. And sometimes the most powerful move you'll ever make is walking away without sacrificing your integrity. You don't need to descend to someone else's level to prove your worth. You don't have to flex your power to show your growth. People who know who they are don't need to prove it to anyone. They let time speak, they let truth rise, and they let God handle those who try to tear them down. Your integrity is your shield. Your restraint is your quiet strength. And your character, how you treat others when you could easily destroy them, is your loudest testimony. Don't trade that for cheap applause or a moment of ego. You were made for more than petty paybacks. You were created to lead with compassion, to lift others, even when it hurts, to protect what's right, even when it costs you comfort. Because one day, someone's destiny will be in your hands. Choose to be the person who brings healing, not harm. As we reflect on what it truly means to have character, let's carry forward the heart of what we've just uncovered. Maybe it will be someone who hurt you deeply. Maybe it'll be someone who let you down in a moment you needed them most. Or maybe it will be someone who, by the world's standards, doesn't deserve your kindness. But in those moments when your feelings are raw and your instinct is to turn away or lash out, don't let anger guide your hand. Let grace steady your heart. Ask yourself, what story do you want your life to tell? If you really want to know who someone is, don't watch how they act around people they want to impress. Instead, pay close attention to how they treat those who can do absolutely nothing for them in return. That's when the mask falls off. That's where the real truth is revealed, not when someone's on stage basking in applause, not when they're laughing with powerful friends, but in those small, unnoticed moments. Watch how they speak to the tired waiter balancing plates. Watch how they acknowledge the janitor quietly working in the corner. See if they take time to smile at the child who stutters, or if they gently help the elderly woman who moves with slow, careful steps. Notice whether they pause to assist a stranger in need, even when there's no possibility of payback or recognition. Because we live in a world that worships status platforms and viral moments, but character doesn't shine in the spotlight. It's revealed in the still unfiltered spaces of everyday life. Character shows up when no one's watching, in the choices no one claps for. When a person is kind, not because it's good for their image or benefits their career, but simply because kindness is woven into who they are. That's when you truly see their heart. You'll hear people justify coldness by saying, "It's just business," or "That's how the world works." But let me remind you, character isn't a costume you put on when it's convenient. It's not a seasonal accessory you swap out, depending on who's watching. You can't turn it on for those with influence and turn it off when it comes to the powerless. If you're warm to the important but dismissive to the overlooked, that's not kindness, that's calculation. Some people only respect those who can boost their status. They show up when there's something to gain, but if there's no social capital, they're suddenly nowhere to be found. That kind of selective kindness is a heart problem. It's pride disguised as success. Remember this, you can't love God yet look down on His people. You can't speak about grace and then ignore the person suffering in front of you. Real conviction doesn't need an audience. Real love doesn't crave applause. Those who truly walk in integrity don't need cameras or compliments. They will pause for the broken, make time for the forgotten, and offer dignity to those the world overlooks. And they do it because they remember how it felt to be small, unseen, and desperate for someone to care. Some of the most beautiful acts of character happen in total secrecy. The man who slips his coat over a shivering homeless stranger, the woman who buys lunch for a hungry child without posting it online, the teenager who helps an elderly man carry his groceries without expecting a single like. That's who you are, not your title, your bank account, or your list of achievements, but how you act when there's no transaction, no benefit, no spotlight. I've seen people wrap their brokenness in charm, showering praise on the wealthy, yet treating the poor like they're invisible. They'll twist themselves into knots for someone famous, but won't spare a moment for the ones scrubbing their floors. That's not excellence. That's arrogance. And it always cracks, because God sees beyond our carefully curated lives. He weighs our hearts, not our highlight reels. He sees our motives, not just our motions. I've also seen the opposite. Quiet souls who never chase attention, but whose love runs deep. They remember names, others. Forget show up early. Offer a genuine smile and treat everyone with equal respect, whether you're the CEO or just someone fighting to make it through the day. That's real power. That's unshakable strength. That's a legacy worth leaving. So let me ask you, who are you when no one's watching? When there's nothing to gain, can you still be kind? Can you still give when there's no applause? Can you still serve when there's no reward? Because that's where the gold lies. That's where eternal value is formed. Because often, God places people in your path not to test them, but to test you, the person who can't repay you. That's your chance to sow what heaven values. The child who needs a word of encouragement. That's your moment to speak life. The elderly man moving slow. That's your opportunity to demonstrate compassion with your hands, not just your words. Don't let the world fool you into thinking greatness is found in platforms or positions. True greatness is revealed in how you treat the least of these, in the words you choose for someone who can't advance your career, in how you carry yourself when there's no spotlight waiting. Because in the end, what echoes beyond this life won't be your resume or your accolades, it will be your kindness, your humility, your love. And when you stand before the one who sees it all, he won't ask you how many followers you had or what deals you closed. He'll ask how you treated the ones who had nothing to give you in return. Because the truest measure of your character is found in those quiet, hidden moments when love costs you everything, yet you choose it anyway.